Beloved friends, I want you to pause for a moment and look around your home. Can you feel it? The energy that moves through every room, touches every corner, whispers to your heart. Some of it uplifts, encourages, and nurtures your spirit. And yet there are subtle, silent forces that may be lingering darkness that has crept in unnoticed, shaping your emotions, your peace, your very destiny. There is a quiet power in awakening. Awareness, a subtle but profound force that begins to shift everything around us the moment we pause and truly see. Often, we move through life on autopilot, carrying routines and habits that shield us from the small but significant realities that shape our experiences. We glance at our surroundings, touch the objects in our homes, and yet rarely consider the influence they may have on our energy, our mindset, and our well-being. To begin with awareness is not a mere suggestion. It is an invitation to open the door to understanding, to step into the light of insight that allows us to perceive what has been hidden in plain sight. When awareness is called forth in a gentle yet deliberate way, it stirs the heart, awakens the mind, and creates a space for transformation to occur. It is not a force that imposes fear or judgment. Rather, it is a quiet recognition that something within our lives may be subtly steering us away from the fullness of peace, joy, and abundance that is our birthright. In this awareness, we begin to notice the things we have allowed into our homes without thought, the items we place care. Every home carries a life beyond its walls, a rhythm and a presence that is not always visible but can be deeply felt. The air that moves through each room, the light that falls upon your furniture, the corners where shadows linger, all of these carry an energy that interacts with your spirit, whether you realize it or not. Our living spaces are not merely physical shelters. They are spiritual environments, vessels that hold the intentions, emotions, and vibrations of everyone who enters and everything that resides within them. Just as the heart radiates warmth or tension, so too does a home respond to what is allowed inside it. Some objects, filled with care and positivity, lift the spirit, inspire clarity, and encourage harmony. Others, whether through neglect, misuse, or negative associations, carry heaviness, discomfort, and a subtle darkness that we may not immediately perceive. This energy can influence the way we think, the way we feel, and even the quality of our relationships. It can settle like a quiet fog over our hearts, dimming our joy, fostering unrest, and obstructing the flow of blessings we are meant to receive. The truth is that every corner, every shelf, every item in our homes holds a charge, a vibration that resonates with our own inner life. When we understand this, we realize the responsibility that comes with inhabiting a space. It is not enough to clean physically. We must also tend to the spiritual atmosphere. Like a garden, a home requires careful cultivation. We must remove what is toxic, rearrange what no longer serves us, and nurture what encourages life and light. To walk into a home that has been cared for in this way is to step into a sanctuary, a place where the spirit can breathe freely, where the heart feels at ease, and where clarity and inspiration flow naturally. Spiritual energy does not demand recognition to exist, but when we honor it, when we become aware of the subtle currents that move within our spaces, we gain the power to transform not only our surroundings but our own lives, creating an environment in which every thought, every emotion, and every action can align with the we often move through our homes with little thought, touching, using, or passing by objects that seem ordinary, even mundane, yet each one carries with it an invisible presence, a subtle influence on our hearts, minds, and spirits. These objects, whether a worn-out piece of furniture, a broken trinket, or a neglected item tucked into a corner, are not neutral. They hold memories, emotions, and energies that can seep into our lives in ways we do not immediately notice. A clock that always stops, a mirror cracked even slightly, or a chair that creaks with discomfort can create tension, frustration, and unease without our conscious awareness. Similarly, old papers, cluttered spaces, or objects associated with past negativity may harbor stagnant energy that quietly blocks the flow of peace and abundance. It is not superstition to recognize this. It is understanding that life is not separate from the spaces we inhabit. Every object is a carrier of influence, a silent participant in the atmosphere that shapes our moods, decisions, and even our relationships. Consider for a moment the weight of unresolved items in your home. How many unopened letters, broken items, or objects no longer serving purpose sit quietly around you. They do not announce their effect, but their presence is felt. They may subtly drain motivation, invite restlessness, or obscure clarity in ways that leave us searching for answers elsewhere, never realizing that the answer lies in the spaces we occupy. This is why awareness is the first step, because only when we see the potential impact of these seemingly harmless objects can we begin to act. By evaluating what we allow to remain in our homes, by recognizing the unseen currents that flow from the objects around us, we reclaim control over the energy that shapes our lives. Every item carries a story, a vibration, and an influence, and when we take the time to discern between what uplifts and what diminishes, we create an environment that aligns with our highest aspirations. We come to understand that our homes are not passive. They are active participants in our spiritual and emotional journey, and by choosing wisely what remains and what is released, we begin to cultivate a space that fosters clarity, serenity, and every one of us carries a deep yearning within, a desire for a life filled with peace, for days untroubled by tension or worry, for a heart unburdened by doubt or fear. We long for prosperity, not merely in wealth or material comfort, but in the richness of meaningful relationships, opportunities that align with our purpose, and a sense of fulfillment that nourishes our spirit. And above all, we seek joy, a joy that flows steadily, that does not vanish when circumstances change, a joy that strengthens us from within and radiates outward to touch everyone around us. Yet so often, despite our best intentions, these blessings seem just out of reach. We search for them in distant places, hoping that a change of job, a new acquisition, or a fleeting moment of pleasure will fill the void. But the truth is, the sources of true peace, prosperity, and joy are often much closer than we imagine. They reside in the spaces we inhabit, in the environment that surrounds us, in the objects we allow to remain within our homes. Every item, every corner, every accumulation of energy can either invite abundance or hinder it. When a home is weighed down with negativity, with objects that carry old pain, clutter, or unresolved tension, it becomes a mirror reflecting struggle, stagnation, and imbalance. And yet, when we take deliberate steps to remove what obstructs, to honor what nurtures, and to create an environment attuned to light, clarity, and purpose, we unlock a natural flow of blessings. Our hearts begin to feel lighter, our minds become sharper, our decisions align with our goals, and joy arises not from circumstance, but from a deep inner harmony. I speak to you today because I know you carry this longing, this sacred desire for a life of fulfillment. I know you want to see the doors of opportunity open wide, to experience moments of true connection, to breathe freely in a home that mirrors the peace you seek. Imagine stepping into a room where sunlight streams through the windows, scattering golden rays across every surface, illuminating the walls, the furniture, and the corners that were once hidden in shadow. The warmth touches your skin, your spirit feels lighter, and every breath seems easier, freer, as though the air itself has been infused with clarity and calm. Now imagine a different scene, a room dimly lit, cluttered with objects that crowd the space, heavy with dust, with corners where shadows linger and twist, where the air feels thick, and every step carries a subtle weight, a tension that you cannot quite name. This is the difference between light and darkness, not merely as a physical phenomenon, but as a spiritual presence, an energy that surrounds and influences us in ways both subtle and profound. Light is life, hope, joy, and clarity. Darkness is stagnation, heaviness, fear, and confusion. When we allow darkness to linger in our homes, we create an invisible weight upon our hearts, a barrier that obscures our vision and muffles the natural flow of peace and abundance. And yet light is never far away. It waits for us to invite it, to remove the obstacles that hide it from view, to make space for its warmth to permeate every corner of our lives. Vivid imagery allows us to sense this contrast not as an abstract idea, but as a living, breathing reality. When we picture the rooms of our homes filled with brightness, clean surfaces, clear air, and open spaces, we feel a stirring in our hearts, a recognition that life can be lighter, fuller, and freer. When we contrast this with the heaviness of cluttered, stagnant spaces, we are called to action, not from fear, but from understanding. It is in this contrast, this dance between light and darkness, that the power of awareness becomes clear. We begin to see how the objects we keep, the corners we neglect, and the energies we tolerate either draw in light or invite darkness. The imagination, when coupled with intention, becomes a mirror, reflecting not only the state of our surroundings, but the condition of our hearts and minds. By picturing the energy in our homes in this way, we awaken a desire to align our physical space with the light, to remove the objects that weigh us down, and to create an environment where clarity, peace, and joy are free to flow. Where every corner is touched by, there is a quiet, powerful force in asking questions that do not demand immediate answers, but rather stir the mind and awaken the heart to truths that have long been overlooked. When we pause and ask ourselves, why do I feel unrest even in my own home? Or what is silently influencing the energy around me? We are opening a door to awareness, inviting reflection that can lead to transformation. Rhetorical questions are not meant to elicit simple responses. They are meant to reach deeper into our consciousness, to provoke introspection, and to reveal the subtle connections between our environment and the state of our lives. Consider asking, have I allowed objects to remain in my home simply because they are familiar, even though they no longer serve me? Or are there corners where darkness lingers unnoticed, affecting my mood, my decisions, and my spirit? Each question, carefully placed, acts as a mirror, showing us the hidden truths that we may have avoided or ignored. When we employ such questions thoughtfully, we engage the mind in a dialogue with itself, stirring curiosity and a desire to explore what lies beneath the surface. They awaken a sense of responsibility, a recognition that we are not passive in our experiences, the spaces we inhabit, and the objects we surround ourselves with are co-creators of our reality. Rhetorical questions invite us to look inward while examining our outer world, to notice patterns of energy, emotions, and interactions that may be shaped by influences we have taken for granted. They encourage honesty, prompting us to confront the ways in which our environments either nourish or hinder us. Do I truly feel peace in the rooms where I spend the most time? Or have I unknowingly allowed clutter, broken items, or stagnant energy to weigh upon me? Such questions stir the spirit, ignite awareness, and compel action without force or intimidation. They transform passive observation into active reflection, guiding us to consider not only what is present, but what is absent. The light that could fill the spaces we have allowed darkness to occupy. By asking ourselves these questions, we begin to cultivate discernment, a keen sensitivity to the energies that move through our homes, our workplaces, and our lives. This is the first step toward intentional living, toward creating spaces that nurture peace, prosperity, and joy, and toward recognizing that the answers we seek are not distant or inaccessible, but hidden in the questions we dare to ask ourselves. Waiting to be discovered in the choices we make each. There is a delicate balance between urgency and fear. And it is in understanding this balance that true motivation arises. When we recognize that certain forces in our homes, in the objects we keep, and in the energy that surrounds us may be quietly obstructing our peace, prosperity, and joy, a sense of immediacy naturally emerges, not as a cause for panic, but as a gentle push toward action. Urgency is the spark that moves intention into motion, prompting us to see that the time to transform our spaces, and thereby our lives, is not in some distant future, but in this very moment. The quiet accumulations of negativity, clutter, and stagnant energy do not wait. They settle in, slow the flow of blessings, and shape the atmosphere of our homes and hearts if left unattended. Yet urgency, when paired with understanding and faith, does not paralyze. It empowers. It calls us to awareness, reminding us that small steps taken today can create profound change tomorrow. Ask yourself, how long have you allowed objects that no longer serve a purpose to remain within your space, collecting dust, holding memories, or harboring energies that dim your light? How many opportunities for clarity, joy, and abundance might have been delayed simply because we tolerated what was no longer needed? The goal is not to instill fear, but to awaken a loving attentiveness to our surroundings, encouraging us to act with deliberate care. When urgency is framed in this way, it becomes a force for liberation, freeing us from the inertia that allows negativity to persist. The sooner we recognize the objects that invite darkness and release them, the sooner the flow of positivity, peace in our homes. It is often the smallest things that carry the greatest influence. We tend to overlook objects that seem insignificant: a chipped cup, a faded photograph, an old piece of decor tucked in a corner. But these items, though seemingly harmless, can hold energy that quietly shapes the atmosphere of our lives. Just as a tiny seed has the potential to grow into a mighty tree, small, neglected objects can accumulate weight over time, casting shadows in spaces that we expect to feel light and peaceful. It is not the size of the object that matters, but the energy it carries, the memories it embodies, and the vibrations it sends into the environment. These overlooked items, when left unattended, may subtly influence our moods, our thoughts, and even our relationships, creating obstacles that seem invisible until we pause to notice their effect. Many of us experience frustration, restlessness, or a sense of heaviness without realizing that the source lies not in external circumstances, but in the subtle energy of what surrounds us. An old item associated with past pain, a cluttered drawer, or even a decorative piece that no longer resonates with positivity can unconsciously affect the flow of harmony and abundance in a home. It is the quiet persistence of these small objects that gives them power, shaping our environment without announcing their presence. The wisdom lies in learning to see beyond the surface, to recognize that what we dismiss as trivial may, in fact, be a barrier to peace, clarity, and spiritual vitality. By paying attention to these small influences, we reclaim control over the energy that flows through our lives. We begin to understand that transformation does not always require grand gestures. Sometimes our environment is a mirror of our inner world, reflecting back the state of our hearts, minds, and spirits in ways we may not always recognize. The rooms we inhabit, the objects we surround ourselves with, and the energy we allow into our homes all play a role in shaping how we feel, how we think, and how we respond to life. A cluttered space can breed a cluttered mind. Stagnant corners can mirror stagnation in our emotions. Heavy, neglected objects can weigh upon our hearts, even when we are unaware of their influence. Just as a garden thrives when tended with care, so too does our emotional well-being flourish when our surroundings are aligned with harmony and positivity. The energy in our homes affects our ability to rest, to focus, to create, and to connect with the people we love. When the spaces we inhabit are chaotic, dark, or filled with items that no longer serve a purpose, our spirits may feel constrained, our clarity diminished, and our joy muted. Conversely, a home that is cared for, organized, and infused with intention can uplift the spirit, sharpen the mind, and open the heart to gratitude, creativity, and